Welcome to the ninth presentation of KTUDELL online seminar series. Tonight, we welcome Associate Professor Dr. Cemal ÇAKIR from Gazi University's Department of English Language Teaching. His presentation will be about making use of linguistics for more informed teaching of EFL. And before leaving the stage to our moderator, Naci Hocam, I'd like to remind our participants to fill out the form that we will share on chat box during the presentation to get their participation certificates. And now, without further ado, I'd like to leave the stage to our head of department and moderator, Professor Dr. Mustafa Naci Kayaoğlu. Naci Hocam, the stage is yours.
Zahra, thank you very much. Cemal Hocam, I'm very delighted to welcome you here. I'm more than happy to see you here. If someone asks me how to describe Cemal ÇAKIR, well, I can say I haven't seen such a cheerful person with a smiling face all the time. So I've known Cemal Hocam for almost more than 30 years, and we were friends from MA TEFL program. So it's a great privilege and honor for me, and to be with you. It's also very kind of you, good of you, to accept our offer to be a guest in our seminar program. So for those of you who may not know Cemal, a lot of people I know are quite familiar with Cemal. They know Cemal. I know a lot of people who follow this event know Cemal very well in person, but maybe those who may not know Cemal. So let me very briefly summarize what background Cemal ÇAKIR has. And Associate Professor Dr. Cemal ÇAKIR received his BA in ALT from Gazi University in 1989, and in 1990, Dr. ÇAKIR received his MA in TEFL from Bilkent University, and in 1997, and Cemal Hocam, Dr. Cemal ÇAKIR received his PhD from Gazi University. From the years 1989 to 2002, Cemal worked as an English instructor at various faculties and plus ELT program. But in 2002, Cemal Hocam joined the Faculty of Education, ELT department, and since then, he has been teaching various courses. So when it comes to topic of interest, and I know Cemal Hocam, he is almost very expert and qualified in the areas such as pragmatics and discourse, and context theory, and formulaic lexicon and conceptual metaphor theory, and foreign language teaching. And Cemal Hocam so far has taken part in various international projects, and also he taught in the past Erasmus sessions in European and universities. So Cemal Hocam is now teaching Introduction to Linguistics, Pragmatics and Language Teaching, and English in Mass Communication, Academic Discourse at various levels, including BA and MA and also PhD. Again, I'm more than happy to welcome you. As I remind all the speakers, Cemal Hocam, please feel free to use any language, because a great number of our participants I assume are undergraduate, and also we have guests from other disciplines, so we can, switch, go between Turkish and English as you like. It totally depends on you. Yes, Hocam, the floor is yours.
Okay, Naci Hocam, thank you so much. Very moving remarks. I was deeply emotionally impressed by your remarks. Thank you so much. After so many years, yes, occasionally we met each other, but for this very wonderful organization, it's a great honor and privilege for me to be a part of this activity. And as a member of the audience, I have been following in a very engaging manner. Congratulations for this very new, but at the same time, very established work. I would like to send my thanks to Öznur Hocam, Öznur Semiz, Özlem Saylan, Tuncer Aydemir, Zehra Gürsoy, the Karadeniz Technical University Department of English Language and Literature seminar series. I'm sure you have started a wonderful tradition, and I'm sure day by day, year by year, it's gonna get deeper and more sophisticated, and will contribute to many dimensions of our education in general and our teachers in particular. So it's another privilege and an opportunity for me, because the department is a kind of fellow department, language and literature department. And we are, neighboring fields. Actually, we are subdisciplines of the super umbrella term of language related studies. It's another great, cooperation, subdisciplinary, exchanges of, novelties, perspectives, etc. And before I go any further, I would like to know in the chat box, for those people from different non-English departments, any people from Turkish or other related topics, arkadaşlar Türkçe dışında olan arkadaşlarımız var ise, we can from time to time switch to Turkish so that you can also follow some topics and some discussions. Any moment, please feel free to make your request, and I will try my best to address also your concern. Okay. We in our field, we have a lot of abbreviations. We are a field of abbreviations. We have TOEFL, we have TESOL, we have TEFL, and I have also added some new abbreviations. I'm crazy for abbreviations, coining the abbreviations. But for the sake of some commonality, I'm going to use EFL ELT as my, excuse me for a moment. I'm trying to go to the next, yes, this. I'm going to start with this abbreviation, ELT. ELT, as you know, stands for English Language Teaching. It's one of the most common abbreviations. As you see on the slide, there are 8 versions of ELT, and there are different colors. We have lowercase letters. We have capital letters. E stands for English, L stands for language, T stands for teaching. But we have blue capital emphases. I mean, we are in the same field, but our focal points can be different. For example, look at number 2. The teacher may focus on English, but may not so much focus on language and teaching. For our teacher in group 2, English is of the primary concern. The others are of secondary or tertiary concern. So in the first line, we have no capital letters, but in the second line, in groups 2, 3, and 4, we have one highlighted capital lettered combination. This means a group of teachers may give priority to one of these 3 components, either to English or to language. By language, I mean linguistics and literature, because these are the 2 pools from which we bring water. All right, we water our forest, our garden, our trees, our field from basically linguistics and literature. They are twins. So people from group 3 may highlight, emphasize, find language as the focal point, as the center. Or a person from group 4, coming from an educational background, may think teaching is everything. The other 2 are just, let's say, auxiliary things. Are just, okay, this is a group of people emphasizing one element. We have line 3. Here we have 2 highlighted. A group of teachers may regard English and language related body of knowledge as primary, but let's say may de-emphasize the teaching. Another language and teaching, another English and teaching. So in this group we have 2 components emphasized, 1 component de-emphasized. But what is the ideal? What is the destination of the journey? ELT. Enough emphasis on English, enough emphasis on language. By language, again, let me repeat, linguistics and literature, and enough due emphasis on teaching, because our job requires us to be knowledgeable, to be skilled in all these three areas. Let's go back to the beginning of the journey. What do you see in the beginning of the journey? Lowercase e, lowercase l, I don't want to see anyone in this group. But we don't know, because in our, let's say, 1970s, when there were not enough teachers, I remember some English teachers from, let's say, different fields with no knowledge, enough knowledge in English, no knowledge in linguistics, no prior skills or experience in teaching. We had some very few teachers, but the ideal is number 8. Do you agree, first of all, the group members, the audience members, is it some kind of lofty goal to be knowledgeable, experienced, motivated in these three items at the same time? A person proficient in English, a person knows the basics of language and literature, a person knows the basics of how to teach. Is it some kind of plausible, doable thing? Can you please share your opinions in the chat box? If I can follow the chat box, is it something lofty? Can we do it? Can we do it? Is it doable? The audience members, you can say yes or no. Or Talib Bey, yes, we can do it. Yes, yes, we can do it. I mean, that's the prestige of our job. That's the prestige of our job, right? Thank you. Thank you for your, so there is no answer yet. Thank you very much. So this is our goal. We can do it. That's why we have these undergrad programs. That's why we have, you know, postgraduate or graduate programs. We have a lot of and this seminar is one occasion for this, you know, let's say, activity. I mean, to help ourselves to share opinions, to share perspectives, let's say minor issues and major issues at the same time. So after this, let's say start, let's look at our bridge. So when we acquire our language, our first language, we acquire the skills of building a bridge. So in this bridge, we have the columns. They call it pier. I mean, the engineers call it piers, the columns, the vertical ones, and we have the deck. So for this bridge to be functional, yes, we need piers, but we need the binding arc, the joining arc. So we have on the left pier, on the left column, microlinguistics. Basically, phonetics, phonology, morphology, and syntax. We call them the units of language. They are necessary elements, but not sufficient for language to exist, for language to bridge people, to bridge exchanging people, to send and receive meaning. So they need a link. And some books and some scholars, some classifications put semantics and pragmatics in the narrow sense to the left pier, to the left column. But to me, after many years of teaching, after many years of reading, after many years of thinking about what language is, what the components, the basic components of language are, I think in one sense, we have semantics and pragmatics as a member of the left side. That's the microlinguistics pier. But in the broader sense, when you ask this simple question, what is meaning? It is a huge question. To answer that, you have to address almost all fields of study, from philosophy to mathematics, from physics to anything, or to metaphysics. Therefore, I think for us to maybe have the burden, less burden of this synthesizing all these various elements of language, from minimal units of sounds, morphemes, words, etc., to the maximal level of how to behave in society among different generations, in different situations, in different contexts. So we need some kind of an interface, a linking component or set, which I call semantico-pragmatic bridge. Semantics and pragmatics are all of them are related, but the most influential, we can say, the most functional, or we can say the most effective, maybe the bridge, link, or the deck, or the arc, let's say, material can be the semantico-pragmatic level. So we have meanings. So we express meanings using sounds. We have morphemes. We express meanings through morphemes. Not enough. We put them in a phrasal order, in a sentence order, etc. But we have to use them in a setting, in a restaurant, with the elderly, with young generations in the classroom, with foreigners, with people whom we know, with people with whom we share knowledge. So to manage these, we need some kind of building link. That's a kind of semantico-pragmatic bridge. So in my opinion, semantics and pragmatics both belong to micro and macro. We can say that they are the interfaces for us. So my understanding is that to help our teachers teach more effectively, to help our learners maybe learn English or any foreign language more effectively, we have to boost, we have to strengthen this arc level, this connection level. That is the semantico-pragmatic level, deck. Now, what about a foreign language? What are we doing in a foreign language? In foreign language teaching, I'm now asking you a question. Are we rebuilding the bridge, or are we helping the learners rebuild the bridge? Are we debuilding the bridge? Are we making our learners debuild the bridge? Or are we misbuilding the bridge, which I don't want. I don't want to see anybody do. Or are we helping our learners misbuild the bridge? Could you please use the chat board and use what are we doing? What are we trying to? Can you say for yourself, you are building the bridge, or can you use some other kind of action? Could you please share your opinions in the chat box? What are we doing? Are we rebuilding? Are we debuilding? Are we misbuilding, or what? Any guesses? Any ideas about this? Is my question clear enough? Naci Hocam, is my question clear enough? Hazal Hocam says we are building. Köse Hocam says we are building it. Congratulations. Yes, we are building. Oh, we have builders. We have bridge builders. Wonderful, wonderful. Helping them, right? Yes. Congratulations. And one, Nur Hocam says we are supposed to build. Yes. Milli Eğitim Temel Kanunu says build it. All right? All right. Something like this. Rebuilding the bridge. Yes, that's the ideal. Congratulations. Thank you very much. All right. So it's not so easy. It's not so easy. We have a lot of minor and major elements, most of which are foreign. Now we will see as snapshots. So what can we do then? Again, let's go back. We have three components. We have three main sources. We have the English. We have the language about language. That is meta language. That is linguistics, basically. And we have educational sciences, psychology, educational psychology, helping us understand the procedures taking place in the mind when we are trying to learn, or when we are unlearning, when we are mislearning, etc. So in order not to have such a broken bridge, such a collapsing bridge, what can we do? So I think we cannot address all linguistics issues. Now let's have some snapshots. So from which sub-element of linguistics can we get some contribution? I'm going to just have some snapshots of linguistics. Okay, let's start with the minor things. Let's start with the syllable. Now we have A1, A2 learners in Turkey. Basically, their first language is Turkish. And in Turkish, we have 6 possibilities of syllables. But when it comes to English, we have 16 possibilities. So before our learner, A1, A2, B1, learner communicates in English, he or she has to cope with this pronunciation. Look at the last word, strengths, consonant, consonant, vowel, consonant, consonant, you know, impossible for many learners, right? That's they insert. So at the very sound level, they have difficulty pronouncing single sounds, putting some sounds together. So we should develop certain activities, you know, minimal pair activities, you know. When I was a student in Ortaokul 1 in 1978, the very first activity I had was a minimal pair test, which I still remember. And I did 36 out of 36. I'm not boasting, Niyazi Hocam. I'm not boasting. I did 36 out of, so minimal pair. Please jot down, minimal pairs are wonderful. Okay, whether to the beginning learners or A2 learners, whatever, even you can apply it to the very advanced learners. So this is a big challenge. This snapshot is a big challenge. Yes, they may not communicate because they may not pronounce these syllables. We have to help them. So we have different sounds. Look, for example, schwa, the primary stress, the second. These are seemingly very easy, but for many learners, it's a big challenge. It's a big challenge. So this is the sound level. It's a snapshot. What about morphology? Afyonkarahisarlaştıramadıklarımızdan mısınız? If you glue mısınız to the main part, it is one single word in Turkish. If you write it in Word document and if you apply word count, it will regard it as one single word. But look at English. Are you one of those whom we have not been able to make Afyonkarahisarian 14 words? Why? Because Turkish is a syntactic language, agglutinating language. English is an analytic language. Pieces separate from each other. They have some kind of virtual grammatical connection. They do it. But at A1, A2, B1 level learner is conditioned to Turkish morphology. Why? Because languages have different morphological processes. It's not a quiz, it's not a test. Is there among the audience members to have discovered that there is a basic distinction between English and Turkish in terms of morphology, in terms of typology? Can you please use the chat part? It's not a chat, it's not a quiz, it's not just an activity to find, let's say, the weakness of people, just to reflect upon what's going on. And then so that we can empathize with our A1 learners, A2 learners, because their world is turning around Turkish. Their cognitive system is accustomed to Turkish. So this is a snapshot. So we can easily use morphology as a kind of understanding, discovery into the brains of our learners. So this is the morphology level. And the story is getting more and more challenging. The lexical semantics, the meaning level. We have here collocations, we have here idioms, we have different combinations. For example, in Turkish, we say karar vermek, or karar almak, or karara varmak. Are these Turkish expressions correct? What about your opinion about that? Do you think that it's okay? By the way, I'm not able to see the chat board, Naci Hocam. I'm not able to follow the Zehra Hocam chat board to see what.
There's nothing appears on.
Okay, now. Yes. Now, but for an English, it's not give, but it's make. But luckily, we have almak in English too. They take a decision. Or we say karara varmak. Luckily, they reach or they come to arrive some decision. Again, this is different lexicalization. This is one of the big challenges. In one of my previous talks, I developed some kind of metaphor between syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. If you regard syntax as Marmara Sea, in terms of scope and complexity and challenge, semantics or the lexical semantics is the Mediterranean Sea. the pragmatics is the three oceans of the world. And the water travels in these three, let's say, water components, and we ask people to sail, to swim in these three oceans. So lexical dimension is even more challenging than the grammatical, structural dimension, because the Turkish people put lexical items together mostly more differently than the English people. Why? As Wieczbiska says, universal human cultural concepts are lexicalized in various forms in different languages. We have the same universal concept, but how we lexicalize them, how we put them in words is unique. Yes, there are overlaps, but in many cases, we have discrepancies. That's why we have Turkish English, Turkish. No problem. No problem for communication purposes. Don't correct them. But when it is an academic writing, when it's some kind of serious writing or serious talk, you cannot just translate in your brain the Turkish lexicalization into English. So we have to follow the lexical semantics dimension. What's going on? What is collocation? What are the rules of collocation? What are the common collocations that our learners, A1, A2 learners use in their games, in their homes, in their daily activities? So we have to develop a corpus. Turkish A1, A2 learners, corpus of lexical semantics, the basic vocabulary. What do Turkish kids eat at breakfast? Turkish breakfast, elements are not the same as the British elements. We have feta cheese, huh? I don't know whether any special thing with hamsi, anchovy in Trabzon and the environs. Anything during the, kahvaltı breakfast for anchovy, Trabzon and environs, related with anchovy or hamsi? Naci Hocam?
For kahvaltı, no, but we have our own menu, but not necessarily kahvaltı. Hamsi, Cemal Hocam.
What about very special components of Trabzon breakfast? Anything special, different from other regions, districts of Turkey? Or just similar to, just similar olive oil, some kind of feta cheese, some kind of common, but our, lexicalization for Turkish, yes, there are overlaps, but there are also mismatches. And when an A1 and A2 learner starts speaking English, he's turning the Turkish-based conceptual content into seemingly English form. Yes, sometimes he or she hits it, luckily. Because English people are human beings, so are we. But in many cases, this is culture-bound, culture-specific, and very original. That's why we have an interlanguage, Aradil. This is learner language, it's normal. But if it is a frozen, fossilized one, then there is some question mark there. So we have to address these key issues. So when it comes to lexical semantics, the roots of communication, pop up. We have the roots of communication. Yes, the ones before them are the structural elements without which we cannot go any further. But when we come here, we have the meaning battleground here. Yes, we have the meanings in the mind. My meanings available here, but how English people lexicalize that identical meaning, sometimes it is totally different. Sometimes it is very strangely different. For example, Turkish kids like saklambaç, one concept. But English people say hide and seek. Three concepts, three words. Lexicalization is different. And we have hırsız polis, hırsız-polis. English kids say cups and rubbers. So these mismatches may cause learners to go, let's say, some interlingual solution, or to stop maybe communicating in English. This is one level. And the problem is getting more challenging when it is pragmatics. We have an enlarging view. Our view is getting larger and larger. In pragmatics, we have culture, society, traditions, how to address an elderly, how to speak to a foreigner, how to say, for example, Naci Hocam hatırlayacak, when we were addressing Professor Carton, we were addressing Sir. And Mr. Carton was saying, why are you calling me Sir? Why didn't you call me Mr. Carton or Aaron? Sir, you're like my grandfather in my culture, in my cognitive system, sociocultural system. I cannot address an elderly, a grandparent-like person by the first name. Do you remember, Naci Hocam? We negotiated with Professor Carton about how to address. So we were lucky because he was an expert of pragmatics. He was just giving us some feedback about this. So when it comes to pragmatics, now we have the big battlefield, because a totally unique new software, sociocultural software, English software for how to address in different situations, in different contexts of situations, in different cultural contexts, in different social contexts. So it is different. Now in Turkish, we cannot call our professors as sen. Hocam, kapıyı açar mısın? We cannot. But in a different country, possible. For example, in German pragmatics, a friend of mine from the German department says, a typical German asks, can I call you sen at the very first exchange? Yeah, first I request the other side to give permission about this. So from terms of address, for example, look at the doors. On a typical Turkish door, we have itiniz, not it. If you follow the English pragmatics, we should say it. Very rude, isn't it? Very rude. And we have another option, itin, do push. We don't use it. We say do push. Can you see? Otherwise the people will get offended, because this is the Turkish so-called collectivistic social pragmatics. Because in the Turkish system, just like Japanese and Korean, we have certain norms. I mean, they are not written in the grammar books. They are not in the course books. They are up in the sky. And it is not easily transportable from English settings to Turkish. That is what we have missing in Turkey. But we can teach, for example, at a restaurant while giving orders. When you go to a typical Anglo-Saxon restaurant, for example, you feel different. Because in a Turkish restaurant, you are like the guest, as if you own that restaurant, because you are the guests. But when in a typical, let's say, Western restaurant, when you go there, I think the people providing service is the center generally. At least I felt that way. I mean, this same body, my body, travels nationally and internationally, and my body reacts differently to different restaurant settings. Therefore, here we have social pragmatics, we have here politeness, we have here speech acts. I mean, this is the best area to invest. So I think we have a lot of resources, and this 2009 handbook chapter is, I think, is a good beginning for many of us, because pragmatics dimension, as I said, is the most challenging. So, but it has the most capacity and possibility to contribute to our activities, to make use of linguistics in a more, let's say, mindful, aware manner. Because here a lot of models, for example, politeness model, negative phase, positive phase, negative politeness. And in these politeness types, we have 40 strategies, many of which are teachable. So we can easily select them, grade them. There are 10, for example, roughly 10 negative politeness strategies. There are roughly 15 positive politeness strategies and 15 off-record politeness strategies. We can somehow bring some of them directly. We can somehow adapt some of them, but all the time we can teach at least, let's say, 1/3 of each group, for especially transactional purposes. So my point of view is that instead of trying to create activities and settings for our learners to develop their interactional skills are generally privacy-based, social gathering-based, some kind of, colloquial, informal, mostly. But I think many people in Turkey basically learn English for transactional purposes, to get things done, let's say, at the hospital, at the bank. I mean, they need it. Of course, I'm not against it, because interactional is an open-ended, as you can guess, is more challenging. So why don't we start the doable first, more doable first, and then go to the more challenging or more, let's say, complicated one? Because in one of our projects with the business people, when we carried out the research about their needs analysis, they just said that, sir, we would like to have our basic transactional talk when we have some meetings internationally. When I go to a hotel, I would like to deal with my receptionist, registration things. When I'm at the customs office, there's these things. But as general, because we are all language people, we generally prioritize, we give priority to interaction, the informal, more human dimension. That's okay. But let's keep in mind the Turkish education system, the majority of the learners, let's say, possibilities to go abroad, to see a foreigner. But basically business-based. Now we have online communicators. Now young generation generally communicates. So about this kind of panorama or the diversity of learners, my suggestion would be focus on more transactional. Of course, teaching the basics of interactional, basic social pragmatics, basic politeness. So I think pragmatics will be the delta, the first delta, where all previous, let's say, isolated piece of knowledge about language will meet. Because, as you know, delta places are generally productive places. You can produce a lot with the soil of the delta. As I said, because we have the Marmara, but we have a connection between Marmara and the Mediterranean, syntax and semantics. But for the actual communication, the ships, the people should be able to travel in the oceans to be, let's say, a global traveler. So basically, where are we, unfortunately? We are at Dardanelles. It is one thing. At least people sail in the Marmara Sea. I don't know whether or not people can swim in the Marmara, but they should be able to travel in the Mediterranean, the desired one, of course, traveling, sailing, and swimming in the three oceans of the world. So pragmatics is one new area. I've been dealing with context. How can we create? It's not so easy. So my suggestion, another suggestion, you're teaching restaurants. Don't try to bring restaurants to the classrooms. You can't. Take students to the restaurant. The restaurant is everywhere. When students go to restaurants, the concept of restaurant is there, but arrange the menu, prepare the service people, etc. But this requires the cooperation of okul müdürü, all fellow English teachers, all other teachers, the parents, the municipality, the mazabıta, the esnaf, all of them. Because we acquire our first language pragmatics in mahalles, right? With a lot of people repeating again and again, being corrected by others and correcting others. So pragmatics is our cooperation area here in the pragmatic theory, politeness theory, context theory can help each one of us and all of us first to identify the problems, design the activities, adapt the activities, personalize the activities, relate the activities. But instead of aiming at a lot of goals, a lot of unreachable, undoable, undeliverable goals, let's have targeted goals, very well designed. objectives. Remember, Najujam, in our course, we had this curriculum principle. We have objectives, station 1, organization, step 2, operations, step 3, outcomes, step 4, and evaluation. We have a lot of steps. One teacher cannot do it. Your English proficiency is not a solution, or your just linguistics knowledge is not enough, or your educational skills. You have to cooperate all of them in yourself, not enough. You have to develop some mini communities without the burden, without the, let's say, fear of being graded. Yes, grade the learners, grade the students for some static activities, but for language use, for language simulations, for language activities, we have to go beyond our limits. So linguistics, especially pragmatics level, and let me go back, lexical semantics and pragmatic, because these are, as you remember from the bridge, these are the arcs. These are the main elements composing the arc. Now we have another component. So we have lexicalization, challenge 1, another contextualization, challenge 2, and we have a new thing, metaphorization. Okay, for a typical English person, many idioms are sea journey related. Why? Because it's a country, an island country, surrounded by waters. I investigated many nautical metaphors. By and large, I use it. By and large is a sailing expression. And this dictionary says, no, sorry, this blog person says, even many native speakers are not aware of. So for a typical English person, many idioms are derived from life is a sea journey conceptual metaphor. This is another big theory, conceptual metaphor theory, under the macrolinguistic field of cognitive linguistics. We have Raymond Gibbs, we have Lakoff and Johnson, Mark Johnson and George Lakoff. I strongly recommend you to follow these readings. And there are a lot of practical issues. There are a lot of practical activities. For example, this is the typical English metaphorical world. What about Turkish? You're all, I think many people are from the Black Sea and there is the Yayla. But for many Turkish expressions, we have some kind of Yayla journey. In our daily life, we have göç yolda dizilir. Ona odasını toplatmak, deveyi hendek atlatmaktan zordur. So in our conceptual system, in our cognitive linguistic system, knowingly or unknowingly, we are following these conceptual metaphors. Conceptual metaphors are related to our image schemas. They build primary metaphors, and complex metaphors are built upon these image schemes, and they are habitat-based, culture-based, geography-based, and many of them coming from long historical times. As just like a British person who will be unable to explain very well what by and large actually means, according to Splogger. And when we ask the meanings of many Turkish linguistic metaphors, we have 4 layers of metaphors. Linguistic metaphors, the ones that we use linguistically, but for those linguistic metaphors to exist, we have some underlying, the unseen parts of the iceberg. At the bedrock of the ocean, we have the image schema. This is universal. Whether you're Turkish, English, Japanese, we have this image schema owing to the fact that we are all human beings. On the basis of these image schemas, we have the primary. For example, source, path, goal is an image schema. This is the basic one, on which we have destinations, purposes are destinations. This is the primary level. And then we have the complex level. Life is a journey. This is also universal. But life is a Yayla journey is a Turkish metaphorization. Life is a sea journey for an English metaphor, basically. Life is a snow journey for the Eskimo linguistic metaphors. Life is a desert journey for a desert society. Life is a mountain journey for the Peru people. Of course, there can be overlaps. So when we cannot use English fluently, effectively, efficiently, or as fluently as we desire, because our conceptual basis, all right, from which we derive the linguistic elements, are sometimes totally different, sometimes significantly, substantially different from the foreign language. These are some of the factors, some of the snapshots, which I wanted to share with you. Naci Hocam, I don't know the timing, how many minutes have passed so far, I don't know.
Cemal Hocam, please feel free. I mean, we can continue as much as you like.
Okay, because the typical, I know from the TED videos, after 18 minutes, they say they have the magic 18-minute rule, you know. After 8 minutes, people go away, you know. Generally something like this. Just, I didn't want to give you some kind of, you know, quotation kind of presentation. All our images are my creations. You like or not? Okay, I spent a lot of minutes to have this mountain, you know. I know Karadeniz Yaylas, you know, Kavron. I've been to Kavron. I've been to, can you please name some of them? There are a lot of, I know a lot of Kafkasör, I know that. And in Artvin, there are a lot of, you know, and people from around, I think, Trabzon and Ordu, they know all these places. Yes, Ayder, Kadırga, yes, Toros, yes, many places, yes. I think this is a wonderful new field, I think, cognitive linguistics. If you read more about these things, for example, I didn't know what by and large meant, but after this cognitive link, now it is very easy to me. For example, in Turkish, we say künde atmak, çelme takmak, because in our Turkish, the main sports is wrestling, especially oil wrestling, değil mi? Peşrev çekmek, etc. But for a typical American, hit a home run, baseball. For a Turkish, life is basically oil wrestling. For a typical American, life is baseball. For example, a typical, let's say, British, maybe life is soccer. Kendi kalesine gol attı diyoruz, topu taca attı diyoruz, direkten döndü diyoruz. Or life is traffic. Diyoruz ki vitesten attık, patinaj yaptık, something like this. Now, a lot of things are happening. These are some of the contributions, possible, let's say, signposts, benchmarks for our, you know, more, let's say, mindful and informed teaching. Yes, we are teaching. We are helping people swim in the Marmara Sea. I've been to Marmara Sea twice, compared to, you know, Trabzon Sea and Antalya Sea. You know, it's not so suitable for swimming, but still people can. But we have Mediterranean, a lot of shores, a lot of wonderful places, and we have the oceans, the 3 oceans to travel. We can do it. I mean, linguistics is a great help, and we can go back to our first slide. I would like every one of you, I'm sure in our fields, the people in our ELT departments, English language and literature departments, or language-related departments, I think the target, the journey will end in capital E, capital L, and capital T. It's possible, but we cannot overemphasize one of them or 2 of them. Yes, we can like some of them, but we have to develop skills, connections, because human being is one single entity. Learner is one single entity. We cannot divide, and language is one single entity. Yes, seemingly symbolic system, but a virtually living thing, an organic thing, composed of a lot of atom level, sometimes molecule level things. So we have the sound level, we can call it the atom level, but we have the phrase lexical semantics level. We cannot just isolate them. We have to have this architectural structure, but this is dynamic. Of course, it looks static, but it's a dynamic. All pieces are interrelated to each other, but there can be disasters. There can be disasters. And I would like to finish with this Black Sea panorama, the mountains of Black Sea, wonderful mountains, especially from the sky, from the plane. And I would like to thank you a lot for joining, for your attention, and forgive me for any kind of mispronunciation or overemphasis or some kind of misunderstanding. Thank you so much. I would be pleased to answer any question, listen to any comment. Najucam, thank you so much. It was a very different pleasure for me, you know, before the screen, and unable to see your faces, but you were more than enough, I mean, to give me feedback. I mean, with your nods and smiles as usual. Thank you so much.
Cemal Hocam, thank you very much. And this is very inspiring talk. I myself personally benefit a lot. And I mean, we're all convinced how we need that. And we need to build a bridge between the semantic and the pragmatic to be of some help to our, let's say, young learners. So I would like to give the priority to audience first. I have some questions to ask later, but let me give the floor to our audience, either in Turkish or in English. It's not the issue. Can
I?
Recep Hocam, please go ahead.
All right, thank you very much, Cemal Hocam, for this beautiful presentation.
Thank you, Recep
You made everybody realize the importance of linguistics once more. And I really like your snapshots, and the ELT term is really, you know, very illuminating to everybody. And if we consider this ELT, you know, I would like to focus on the L, you know, letter, because, you know, that is, as you mentioned, you know, language and literature, because, you know, language teachers, prospective language teachers, all of us need to know this English language through literature. And then, you know, before we are aware of, okay, the essence of the language and the nuance of the language, I mean, if we are just on one side of this bridge, then we are stuck with only the phonetics and the phonology, which are, of course, very important, but we need to go towards the other end of, okay, the bridge through the semantics and pragmatics. Otherwise, you know, we will be lacking the necessary, the meaning of the language that everybody needs. And if we lack this communication, the sociolinguistic and the, you know, cognitive linguistics issues, if we, during the undergraduate education or during our professional lives, if we are aware of these basic components, of course, okay, we're going to learn the language much better, and then we will be able to teach the language in the best way possible. Then let me ask you a question here. And you said that, you know, we need the contextualization, okay, to be able to, you know, reflect the true cultural and the social purpose of the language. Then we need to turn, we need to take everybody, as you said, the middle and everybody to the real context. And in non-native settings, it may not be enough practical or possible to take everybody to the restaurant altogether to realize it. Then in that situation, maybe I think you meant to say that let's turn the classes to such kind of real context.
If possible, yes.
What can we do in this case?
Recep Hocam, thank you so much for your wonderful feedback and reflection. You know, in cognitive linguistics and neurosciences, they talk about mirror neurons. There are some sorts of neurons. They function as context mirrors. Whatever you try to create a restaurant-like place in the classroom, the mirror neurons for school are active at school. Because you are at school, the learner, the kids are aware of, and I would like everybody to go to Britney Spears. There is a song, Waiting for the bell of the break time. You know, we were kids, school neurons are active at school. But we acquire our first language, we build our neural networks in non-school extracurricular places for language. If possible, if the school is rich enough, if the teachers have enough time, if the parents contribute. I know the conditions of average schools in Turkey. Yes, that's the best. But the new, I think, maybe goal could be spreading education into the spheres of life. You know, some scholars say the form of schools in present shape are from 2 centuries ago, when we had very few scholarly people, we didn't enough, you know, places. Therefore, they had to bring everybody into the schools. But let's make the entire life, the entire, you know, corner streets, restaurant. But this requires a wonderful cooperation. That's why okul müdürü is very important. İlçe Milli Eğitim Müdürü, they are activity organizers. Lokantacılar Odası Başkanı, very important. There will be money there also. There will be some kind of mobility, but not graded mobility, not sınıf geçme mobility, passerfoy. They enjoy it. Simulations. And mirror neurons will get activated. Yes, we can have model classrooms possible, but think of your conditions, the villages of Trabzon, villages of Ordu, villages of Toroslar. Can we create such place? But every village, every small town has a restaurant. Have the menu controlled, check the menu, and they will get the smell, multiple intelligence. They will get the smell. They will learn the names of the food. They will see the actions. Recep Hocam, very sorry for this kind of counter, you know, claim. I'm sure, I hope I've made my position clear enough.
It's very clear. Thank you very much. So I understand that. Okay, we should go beyond our limits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's possible. It's doable. It is not impossible, but very difficult. Very
impossible
difficult.
is nothing, you know.
Yeah, organizational skills we need. We need pragmatic skills from the teacher to the parent, from the student, from anybody concerned. Thank you so much. Very intriguing question, sir.
I totally agree with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Our support team, I cannot see the question from YouTube. If there is any question, please help me and I'll send the question.
Of course, Hocam. We have one question from YouTube. Actually, I can read it aloud and I'll just copy it to the chat box. So Deniz Ökçesiz asks, for A1 or A2 level, is it better for students to have an English teacher with Turkish as their native language to eliminate mother tongue interference?
It's better for students to have an English teacher with Turkish as their native language. What do you mean, a native English speaker teacher?
Probably yes. This is what
Deniz Hocam,
Deniz
Hocam, you mean o Zehra Hocam, o Deniz Hocam. It is.
The questions from YouTube, so probably they will answer about 30 seconds later.
It is like a paradise to have a native speaker. Even many English departments don't have native speakers. Yes. But as I said, this English teacher can be like this. I mean, a native speaker can be like this. Type 2. Maybe just knowledgeable about English, but no linguistics knowledge, no literature knowledge. No. If number 8, native speaker, best. Because a typical Turkish English teacher, I mean, a Turkish speaking English teacher knows first, the language of the learner, Turkish. 2, knows the foreign language. 3, knows the interlanguage, the learner language. 3, 4, meta language, linguistics. But a native speaker only with E, I mean type 2, can only know the English. So Turkish English teacher 4 against native English teacher 1. Just like once Trabzonspor and Manchester United kind of I think the score was 4 against 1, something like this. So if qualified, why not? Why not? Why not? Of course.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you
Hocam,
so much
your
for the
answer.
question.
I also have one question from YouTube, but it is not very related to your presentation, but it is a question to you personally. The nickname is Gabriel Angelos, so I don't know if it's familiar, it's a nickname or not, but the viewer asks, Cemal Hocam, resmen yıllara meydan okuyorsunuz, genç kalmanızın sırrı kitap okumak mı? I think it was so nice to ask.
Trying to build bridges, trying to build
yes.
bridges, I think. Always doing exercises to build bridges.
Okay, thank you, Hocam. So
So,
this is
so
all
much
from
for
YouTube.
this wonderful remarks. Thank you so much.
Cemal Hocam, well, by the way, I mean, I realized that you know more places around Trabzon than I do. I appreciate this very much. I feel a bit guilty, but as Recep Hocam stated, yes, we need to go beyond our comfort zone. I mean, traditional, let's say, limits. I mean, so we should stop repeating what we have been doing for years and to combine and establish a bridge between semantic and pragmatics. That's fine, but just one question I'm not sure about this issue. So we are living in a world where English has become a lingua franca, which means, so as far as our department is concerned, for example, most of our students are interacting with the people of different culture and language. So don't you feel that, I mean, our job is more challenging or more demanding when it comes to establishing a bridge between semantic and pragmatics?
Okay, the example group, Naci Hocam, are these professionals. You know, there is no problem for people like us because we are linguistically intelligent people. Despite all, let's say, adverse conditions, we learn it because we are predisposed to learn foreign languages. I am talking about the majority of the learners in Turkey. So for majority of the learners in Turkey, so yeah, for many, there is no language intelligence. So we have groups of learners.
Materials, I was thinking, what, for example, what else can I do when I go back to my class and also try to
Naci Hocam, you're out.
Hocam, I guess we have a technical problem.
Naci Hocam is frozen, I think.
Yes.
Okay, Naci Hocam, before he returns, yes, we have teaching English or learning languages as a lingua franca, which means an Argentinian, let's say a Turkish get-together at the literal level, without resorting to native speaker norms, they can communicate. We have world Englishes, but here we have to teach the basics without sounds, without morphemes, without the basic structure. As I said, these are necessary, but not enough. Starting with their games, starting with their daily activities, maybe some transactional situations. It is up to them after this basis to go any further. And some will choose not to go any further, just like us. We were taught mathematics, but we have chosen not to further mathematical knowledge. We have chosen, it depends on the learner, the need, the situation, the group of people, their needs, etc. Of course, there is not a single solution now. We have multiplicities of solutions and multiplicities of conditions now. We have very, self-governed, let's say, autonomous learners without any teaching interference. He or she can learn even at a native speaker level. Okay, we have all the opportunities now. The exposure facilities are more than ever now. But for some classroom program, for some general milli eğitim group of people I'm talking about, for hazırlık öğrencileri, for the general lot in the education system, not the exceptional people. We are exceptional people because we have chosen language-related fields out of some wish. Okay, but we are not the criteria, I think. Maybe we are the wrong examples for foreign language learning because we learn despite everything. Something like, Naci Hocam, I'm not sure if you are able to follow me. I hope you are.
Hocam,
Can
he's
I-
not in the
can-
system,
can I-
unfortunately. I guess he'll be back in a few seconds.
Recep hocam?
Can I just add something to your remarks?
Yes, evet hocam.
And yeah, I again, agree with you. And because, I mean, linguistics shouldn't be kind of a luxury thing for language teachers or for the future teachers of English. Because, I mean, if everybody knows about these micro and the macro issues of linguistics, I'm sure that language teachers will be really, in the best way qualified to teach the language. ELT, teaching. Teaching depends upon a good understanding of English, language, and it is literature in order to amalgamate the phonetics, phonology, let's say, semantics, syntax, pragmatics, everything. That's why, like you, I always, highlight the importance of linguistics, not only the phonetics, only the sounds of it, phonology. At the same time, this, cultural side of the language. Then, future language teachers will be qualified enough to teach the language in the best way possible. Can I share an example with you?
Yes, sir.
I don't want to say that, but in England, when we were communicating with the native speakers of English, we didn't know the importance of thank you or please, because nobody told us to use these, to be, using hedges or to be polite. Then if you said, for example, give me a ticket to the bus station, for example, if you didn't say please, you wouldn't get the tickets, or the driver would look at you angrily. As a language teacher, if I had known about it, I would be more effectively functioning in the language. That is why, everybody, all language teachers should be really, conversant with the basics of linguistics.
Thank you so much. I totally agree with you, Recep hocam. This is what we call meta language. The language only professional teachers know and very rarely use in their classrooms as terminology, but they know. They know it. This is our professional software using which we can better, more effectively choose materials in organizing, set up more realistic goals, identify problems, relate problems, manipulate, let's say, components of anything, because we have different learners, we have different problems. So we have this super view, without which we cannot feel confident. I mean, this is a prerequisite. It's not a matter of choice, but how, in what manner are we going to maybe acquire them? That's the issue. There is no question, shall we or should we? We should, we must, not should, but must. Can you think of a physician without the knowledge of anatomy? Can a physician practice medicine at a hospital without knowing the muscles, the hormones, the enzymes? No, it is something, a must. But here, we should have these links. Now, there are some hidden points here. Linguistics is not 100% clear yet. There are a lot of big questions, different schools of thought. And many people now in the world question what is a literal meaning. Some people say these are called ultra-contextualists. They say there is no literal meaning. Every meaning is constructed on the spot at the very hot moment of exchange. But we, as practical teachers, we have to grasp certain definitions. So it is a wonderful thing. I mean, language and literature are the fountains from which we bring water. That is our main, chemical substance. Yes, of course, we will follow educational psychology, educational technology, but our core is language. What is our profession? We are language professionals. Our departments are labeled as language departments. Of course, I'm talking about the basics. We are not pure researchers. We are not pure experimental psychologists. We are not, but we have to know the links. If you don't know, for example, this 16 syllables in English, 6 in Turkish, there is a gap of 10. I am an A1 learner, A2. I'm not able to pronounce it. How can I think of meaning? I am grappling with the physical level. How can I go to the cognitive level? To understand, to empathize with the learner, to how can I say, reflect, to give your own grades, to cooperate, to identify problems, grade materials, relate tasks. We need this, big picture. Recep Hocam, I was inspired by your talk.
Thank you very
so
much.
much.
Okay, I do apologize. I was disconnected in the middle of my conversation. I was sorry, but Recep did good job. So it's okay. So let's continue. Do we have some more questions from the audience?
For now, we don't have any questions from YouTube. As far as I see, also no question from the chat box. For now.
Any contributions? So,
not a question, but a contribution maybe.
Oh, Hasan Hocam, you're always welcome.
Hasan Sağlam Hocam, huh?
Yes, from our department.
Nice to meet you, Hasan Hocam, again.
Cemal Hocam, thank you. That was an inspiring talk.
Thank you very much, Hasan Hocam.
I'm not going to ask a question, but I would like to share an experience that I had. So how the knowledge of pragmatics works, even in the native language. I mean, that is Turkish. I went into a shop to ask for the price of a chandelier. And when I was about to pay, I started bargaining. It's a skill my father passed on me. And when I was about to pay, the salesman asked me, canlı mı? And even though I have a kind of a salesman background, it is because we were running a shop for years. I didn't understand what he really meant, canlı mı? It is because when we were running the shop, we were asking peşin mi, peş mi?
Nakit mi, kartla?
So all those expressions, but canlı mı was not used. And I thought whether this is an expression extensively used in Black Sea region. So I'm not from Black Sea region in origin. So I understood that. So that could only mean peşin mi or something. But at that time I was a little bit, disappointed. It is because I didn't understand the person, even though he was speaking in my language.
Yes.
So such communication breakdowns are likely to occur if we do not understand pragmatics, and it gives us a little, experience of how we are dealing or how we should be dealing with language indeed.
Thank you so much, Hasan Hocam.
They
call it, sorry for this, they call it social pragmatics plus pragmalinguistics. Pragmalinguistics is what you are saying. We say peşin mi, nakit mi. I mean the linguistic options. We have a set of linguistic options, pragmalinguistics, but which one to use where is social pragmatics? Hocana nasıl hitap edersin? Yaştaşına nasıl hitap edersin? These are the hidden, unseen rules of society. But the linguistically visible and audible ones are the pragmalinguistics. And it is again very difficult to match them, even in the native language. Language. Exactly. And if there is a generational gap, now when you speak to an elderly, you sometimes feel difficult choosing the right, expression, how to address. If there is a gap of, let's say, 50 years or 40 years. For the new generation, for example, they can use sen. When they are addressing you, they can say sen. But for our generation, how can you address your professor by saying sen? It's the Third World War, something like that. Pragmatically speaking, something like that. Because social pragmatic rule is violated there, because this is a hidden software, say some pragmaticians, something like. And this is a wonderful chapter for I mean, the people interested in pragmatics, this teaching and testing pragmatics from the Handbook of Language Change. There are many other, wonderful publications I strongly recommend you. Hasan Hocam, thank you so much.
Thank you, Hocam, for the references and the images as well, and for the inviting talk.
Thank you. Hocam, are we wrapping up?
Okay. Now, I mean, I'm just trying to encourage more people to come up with questions and feedback. Türkçe, İngilizce fark etmiyor arkadaşlar. Buyurun, Türkçe'de geçebiliriz for young learners or for the people of other disciplines. So this is a platform where we are not teaching anything. We're simply sharing our expertise and views and experience and knowledge, but also we equally value and the ideas and the feelings, experience, and the knowledge of the audience. Sometimes some of the audience may have very interesting experience and perceptions and perspective, which might be more valuable than what we can get from a book. So please, you're always welcome to make your point, to share your ideas and feelings, experience, and also some sort of, let's say, practical deneyimleriniz. Lütfen.
We have Talip Özdemir's question in the chat. I can see it.
Yes, Hocam, I can read it for you aloud if you want me to.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so to know the links better, to get deeper into pragmatics and cognitive linguistics, would you suggest ELT and ELL students to study a graduate degree in linguistics? I think here what differs even the study programs of ELL and ELT, and in pragmatic manner, what makes EAL students one step forward is maybe the pragmatic manner. Would you claim that?
Talip Hocam, thank you so much. As I said, we are talking about building bridges, strengthening the links between the items, the peers, the blocks. So I would recommend a kind of applied linguistics with a comprehensive coverage. For example, I personally read a lot of literature. In my undergrad years, I did a lot of British American literature. We read, Sons and Lovers, we had The Old Man and Then the Sea, all the basic classics, Scarlet Letter, all of them. So instead of separating them, decomposing the bridge, let's build the bridge, of course, with some focal points, some emphasis points changing. So I think a comprehensive applied linguistics program is basically what we are doing is a kind of applied linguistics. Recep Hocam and other hocalarım da katılacak. Basically, we are doing some uygulamalı dil bilimi practices, basically. For example, we have learned a lot of literature. We have had a lot of methodology, but at the same time, linguistics, some kind of combination, some kind of magic. But Talip Hocam, I don't know the magic combination, because we have different needs of the learners, different times. Now we have this online facilities, we have this now çevrimiçi education, individual choices. As Naci Hocam said, a lot of exchanges now, which was, impossible, let's say, some 40 years ago, technically impossible. Now we have everything available. It's a personal, I think, commitment and personal choice. And experts say, for example, Bardovi Harlik and Zoltan Dörnyei say, advanced use of any language, foreign language, basically depends on individual choice. We can only teach the basics, but to further it or not is a kind of personal choice, they say. And it is maybe governed or influenced by many factors, from the family, from the temperament, mizaj, from character, from any factors. But it is a wonderful job. It's a wonderful endeavor. You are investing in your mind, in your body. You are getting day by day, better or more effective communicators. It's something like a hobby. Recep Hocam, Naci Hocam, hocalarım, learning a foreign is like a hobby. They say, do your hobby and don't be obliged to go to work. Because when you go to work, actually you are doing your hobby kind of, perspectives about our job. Maybe for a pilot, if it's a hobby, it is also the same case. I would say, Talip Hocam, instead of one single linguistics, an interdisciplinary, applied linguistic, I think, perspective, and that is the, up-to-date coverage of many programs. Thank you for the question.
Taleb, thank you very much. Taleb is our last year student, and so far he hasn't missed any single session. He is very active and asking questions and making contributions. Taleb, thank you very much, and appreciate your questions and contribution all the time. I'm very proud of you. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Or shall I close up?
We have still, I see 63 people. Thank you so much for your patience and for this artificial kind of, because I'm used to using my hand, my body in the classroom. In the last 10 months or so, I have developed some skills, some simulating the classroom. Sorry for using the hands, etc., because my body automatically reacts to the screen as if I am speaking to the audience. There is for this extra motion, extra gestures. Forgive me for that.
So there has been not.
Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt, Hocam, but we also have 43 viewers from YouTube. So we are also live on YouTube. So
thank you so much. YouTubers, sorry, excuse me for the YouTubers. Thank you so much for your, staying up there so much.
Hocam, they are saying, hello, we miss Cemal Hoca, we want to see him in classes, etc. There are lots of greetings and
so much love, so much, let's say, good wishes, best wishes. Hope to meet them on the campus. And let me tell you, 2 weeks ago, I saw the Karadeniz Technic reunion. I was a guest, and I couldn't leave the platform. I felt as if I was a member, and I was really impressed. And I felt, very moved when I saw. And because we have such communities, wonderful thing. Allah nazarlardan saklasın. Wonderful thing. So maybe in the future we can have these gatherings again. There may be joint gatherings. Yes, Gazi and Karadeniz Technic kind of activities. Why not? And congratulations for your department, for your, graduates, their, professionalism, their commitment to work, to development, and the link. I mean, their genuine appreciation of your efforts. I was really, really impressed as a human being first, not as a professional. And I was really, really impressed.
Okay, Cemal Hocam, thank you very much for the very nice and beautiful words. And it was very amazing to watch you in a metaphor presentations you did many years ago. Still very amazing and to watch you. So it seems nothing has changed. Nothing has changed over the years. So it's very lovely and to watch you.
Thank you so much.
Anyone else? So I don't want to just close up. If there's anyone desperate to ask any question, make any contribution in any language, please, our support team, any input, any question, any remark, any contribution.
Hocam, Erdem Hoca from RGS University said, Hocam, it is contextual learning as well for the previous topic, I guess. Also, Turan Hocam from YouTube says, thank you for the comprehensive and enthusiastic presentation.
Thank you, Erdem Hocam. Thank you, Turan Hocam.
Other than that, I also like to remind our participants to fill out the form we have shared in our chat boxes in YouTube and in Zoom. So please feel free to fill out and get your certificate of participation.
Okay, it's time to close up. I extend my. Okay, yes, please, again, I once more extend my deepest appreciation to my friend Cemal Hocam for his very beautiful, informative, inspiring and presentation. I personally benefit a lot from his presentation. So some parts of the presentation were very new to me, Cemal Hocam. I have to confess and admit, so it's good to learn something new from you. And also I thank my support team, my friends and my colleagues and all other teachers and friends and also audience. It's very nice to see here. And we have just announcement, we have 2 more speakers to go with in this seminar session. So I'll be happy to see you in the next talk. Bu vesileyle herkese çok iyi akşamlar diliyorum. Çok teşekkür ediyorum. Hepinize iyi hafta sonları, iyi pazarlar diliyorum.
Sağlıkla kalın, hoşça kalın.
Sağlıkla kalın, hoşça kalın.
Teşekkür ediyoruz.
Teşekkürler hocam.
İyi akşamlar hocam.